Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Akalon here, and welcome back to each one of it. Of course, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining us. I am very happy to have you here. Today's video, we're looking at Anduin, and of course have been made a puppet of Zovaal. The biggest question though is why? Why does Zovaal require Anduin? Now, a lot of this is going to be speculation because, in all fairness, we don't actually know the reasons why Zovaal requires Anduin. In fact, we don't know much about what Zovaal is after and what he wants to do, outside of the fact that he is looking for a place called the Sepulchre of the First Ones. Now, there is going to be a video in the very near future around the Sepulchre of the First Ones and what exactly I think that might be. That's not this video though. In this video, we are taking a closer look at Anduin specifically. However, before we do that, a word from our sponsor. Today's video, of course, is brought to you by, well, us and Patreon. Myself and Alex would love to invite you to join us over on Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, early access, and a weekly podcast, and a lot more to come in the future. Patreon truly is the place for you if you love the channel, if you love what we do here, and you actually want to be part of making it even better. If you don't want to join Patreon, you maybe don't have the money, but you still want to have, extra content on the channel, you can click the link in the description down below that will take you to Twitch, Tuesdays to Fridays, every single week. We go very deep into World of Warcraft lore, gaming, and just everything else in between. So Twitch really is the place for you. And of course, I am not professional enough to know that I should only do one sponsor in a video, so we'll do two. And hopefully it came off as smooth, although I doubt it. Anyways, hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Of course, if you don't enjoy the video, hit that like button twice. And with that, let's get into the video. Anduin and the Maw. How did Anduin arrive in the Maw? Why was Anduin chosen? Why did Sylvanas end up spending so much time with Anduin? These is, as far as I'm concerned, the most important questions. Now, as for how Anduin got there, very easy. The Mawsworn was sent to capture him. He was captured alongside Jaina, Bane, and Thrall. The question is, why? Well, we know, thanks to very early dialogue, that they were looking for something. They weren't sure which one of the four leaders had that very special something that they were looking for. However, of course, more of this would have become very clear very early on in the expansion, or very early on in the opening cinematic, so to speak, of the Shadowlands. The question, of course, even then becomes, well, why? Why is it that when Anduin used the light, did he become so infinitely more important to Zovaal and Sylvanas than any of the other leaders? Very much so, right? The other leaders were basically just cast aside at that point. They were kept inside Torghast, but in such a way that we could get to them easily. Anduin, on the other hand, we've not been able to get anywhere near Anduin since Anduin used the light in the Maw. We're going to get into that and a little bit more in due time, but I first want to focus on exactly what Sylvanas wanted from Anduin. Sylvanas explained in great detail over the course of, well, first and foremost, two cinematics, but more importantly, we could argue that Sylvanas most likely had far more conversations with Anduin that we were never privy to, where Sylvanas tried to convince Anduin of what it is that she's doing, of why what she is doing is so important. I'm reminded of that extremely important cinematic where Sylvanas asks Anduin, "So you favor life? Is that it?" And then she goes on to explain how life really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether or not, you choose to live. Life goes where life wants to go and you have no control over it. And then she tries in some roundabout way to explain to him how none of it matters. Once you die, it's not as if it gets any better. Once again, all of your choices are removed from you. But Sylvanas spends a lot of time trying to get Anduin to see. She wants Anduin to make an active decision to follow them. This goes, I believe, a little bit to show her mindset. She's not comfortable with enslaving Anduin. Instead, she believes that Anduin will follow if he sees the truth of all of this. Now, of course, we don't know if Anduin eventually caved and said, fine, I will follow. But for now, at least based on everything that we're seeing, Anduin was eventually enslaved. How he was enslaved, though, that, I believe, becomes far more important and far more interesting. Now, a lot of questions have been asked about Anduin and how exactly Zovaal took control of him. We know that it's domination magic, but surely that can't be all of it. The Mournblade seems to be an incredibly important part. In fact, Blizzard made an entire cinematic where the Mournblade was very much the focus, the central focal point of those cinematics. We saw Zovaal reach into some kind of portal and bring out a soul that would ultimately be forged within this blade. Whose soul was that? Now, Alex is going to put some pictures up on the screen for you, and these pictures were actually shared by Robotic Unicorn over on Discord. It is from the most recent campaign where you save Uther, and you actually enter a place called the Soul Prison. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is perhaps one of the most interesting things to come out of it. Robotic Unicorn actually did take the time to hover over these souls, and you have souls like the Blood Queen, souls like the Grand Magister, the Guardian of Naxxramas, and of course the Golden King. All of these souls reminiscent of the Wrath era, souls that somehow was claimed by Frostmourne or claimed within the course of Wrath of the Lich King. But how? Why are all these souls here? And more importantly, whose soul is missing? Now, I will probably make a video at one point or another talking about all of these souls that is inside this room. The Golden King, for example, I argue may in fact be Tyrannus Menethil. It's entirely possible, which means that the lie from the very beginning where Tyrannus Menethil says there must always be a Lich King truly wasn't Tyrannus Menethil saying that. It was in fact Zovaal speaking through him, since he has always been inside the Soul Prison, and maybe, just maybe, it explains where souls go when they're killed by Frostmourne.
Without its master's command, the restless scourge will become an even greater threat to this world. Control must be maintained. There must always be a Lich King.
Now, in many ways, Frostmourne did claim Arthas' life, and that is who I believe rests inside that Mournblade. It is the soul of Arthas Menethil. The prison of Zovaal might become more important as time goes on, since all of those souls are still there. They're literally waiting to be freed or to be destroyed. But for now, the only soul that really matters is that Arthas himself serves as the enslaving mechanism for Anduin. Why Anduin? A natural question, a question that many of us have asked. Now, for this, we actually go back to the start of the Shadowlands. We are at the precipice of escaping the Maw. We're at the relic of the First Ones. We're busy charging it up. Zovaal and his armies arrive. At this point in time, Zovaal is very much fixated on the relic of the First Ones reacting to a mortal. How is it that we are able to activate this relic when not even he is capable of doing so? Surely something special must be going on here, but then something changes. Something Zovaal did not expect. You see, in using domination magic, Anduin is able to resist with the use of the light, and suddenly everything changes for Zovaal. We no longer matter. The fact that we can activate the relic of the First Ones is of no consequence to him. The only person that exists in that moment is Anduin. Zovaal utters the phrase, "Interesting." Anduin, of course, responds with, "You're failed." And he goes, "No, I have exactly what I need." What was that? Now, I would argue it is the light. You see, if you think about the First Ones and you think about what the sepulchre of the First Ones would require, one might argue that if the sepulchre of the First Ones is a place where the universe in and of itself can be re-originated, then it is going to be warded like a bitch. It's going to be near impossible to get in, and there's going to be certain requirements in order to enter. It stands to reason that the light is such a requirement. In order to go in, you require a soul that is pure, a soul that is untainted, a soul that isn't murderous. Otherwise, the sepulchre itself will reject you. So Zovaal himself cannot enter. His soul is no longer pure. He is tainted. But with the use of domination magic, remember, he was able to fool the Kyrians. The Kyrians inspecting Anduin, looking over Anduin, trying to look for any indication that some malice may exist. The Kyrians could not spot it. There is a good chance that this was his first test for Anduin. He wanted to see, can Anduin pass the tests of the Kyrian? Because if he can do that, then it stands to reason he may actually have the ability to enter the sepulchre of the first ones and trigger the reorigination. Here's the problem though. Here is the one thing that Zovaal cannot and did not count on. It's going to fail. You see, because Anduin is no longer pure. If you haven't read The Shadows Rising, I do suggest that you read it. It's a very good book. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of tidbits hidden within the book. But I'll quickly give you guys, for those of you that don't want to spend the money to buy a book when you're already paying for the game, I'll give you a quick TLDR. In the second to last chapter within Shadows Rising, Anduin stands with an ensemble, Jaina, and I believe there was one other person there, Maiev was there as well. And there's a moment, no one else sees it, it's only in the book, it's sort of an aside. Void that forms on Anduin's shoulder and runs down his arm and settles in the palm of his hand before it dissipates. Anduin himself has already been filled by the void. He might not know it yet, maybe he doesn't even realize it yet. But at the moment that Anduin sets foot within the sepulchre, I believe that the sepulchre is going to react to the void that is within Anduin. The void will then break Anduin free from the domination that he is currently under, and the reason for it is, should Anduin remain within the sepulchre, he and the void will be destroyed within the sepulchre, since the sepulchre requires those that are pure of heart. And Anduin himself is no longer pure. The void will in that moment most likely take over and free Anduin. And remember N'Zoth's word, well, his sentence really, I alone can save you from this fate. He was speaking about Zovaal and the darkness that Sylvanas was seeking to unleash upon Azeroth. I alone can save you from this fate. The void does have the ability to counteract domination magic. It does have the ability to free the mind. This is what the void will do for Anduin, and this is why Zovaal's plan will fail, but Zovaal is not going to give up. Not so easy. I do believe in the moment that Anduin fails, in the moment that Zovaal loses control of Anduin, Zovaal is going to turn his eyes on someone else, and that is going to be Odin. There is a reason why Helia was made part of this fight. There is a reason why Zovaal wanted her. He wanted Odin to be part of the fight. You see, because he has backup plans wrapped within backup plans at this point. Odin is pure of heart. As much evil as Odin have committed within his life, Odin is not an evil person, not in his own mind. Remember the words of Aegir herself. When she tells us what happened to Vol'jin, she says that he was touched by the hand of valor. Odin himself is outraged by the fact that his eye, his pure eye, is used for such twisted madness. Odin believes himself pure, and therefore he is pure. To his own mind, he did what was necessary, but never what was evil. I believe that Odin's role in all of this will be to serve as the conduit for Zovaal. When it's all said and done, Zovaal will take control of Odin to trigger reorigination, which in many ways, if you think about it, is the role of the Titan Keepers. They were very much made for this purpose and this purpose alone. Of course, their reorigination purpose was to reoriginate Azeroth should it become far too corrupted. In this instance, Zovaal will use a Titan Keeper to reoriginate the universe, because as far as he's concerned, it's become far too corrupted. In my mind, this makes sense and this is interesting. And I think that at the end of the day, of course, anything can still happen. But can you truly tell me that you cannot see this happen? That you cannot see that this is a viable story But of course, as always, I am only here to facilitate the conversation. I start the topic and then I hope that you will continue the topic in the comment section down below. Let me know whether or not you agree with this theory. Maybe you have a better theory. I'd love to read it in the comment section down below. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and smash that bell that notifies you whenever I put up brand new content. And of course, it does help with engagement on the channel. When you hit the like button, YouTube tells other people, hey, this guy liked the video, therefore you might like the video, and so on and so forth. It goes a very long way to helping out the channel. And then of course, to all of the patrons of this channel, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. Without you, this channel would literally not be here. If you want to get some exclusive content, some Lovecrafts, or at least podcasts every single week, behind the scenes footage, as well as early access to all of the videos, click the link in the description down below, become a patron, choose your program, choose your package. Any and all support is always very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, to all of the Twitch subs and of course the YouTube channel members, thank you so much for your support as well. It goes a very long way to helping out and to ensure that we can constantly increase the quality of the channel. And with that said, I thank you so much for watching. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other. Be good to yourself. I will see you in the next one. Peace out, fam.